very conservative to my view as well, but it's part of the conclusions of the report I'm going to be talking about in the second page. Right. So this is the report that was produced by National Wildlife Federation in Sierra Club a year ago, and it's a great report. I actually brought some of those reports and I left them in my car. So if you would like a report, I'll definitely get a copy for you, and I also have them available electronically. But what this report says is that if we were all at the same level, if at the region all of us would implement at least a twice per week watering restriction on a permanent basis, not just as a not just as a reactive approach, as through a drought contingency plan, but on a proactive approach year-round, we would be saving. I should have changed this to color, but we would be saving, and by 2060, we would save 62,000 acre-feet of water. So that's a lot of water that could be saved just implementing this restriction. And I know it's not the easiest thing to do. I've had many conversations with different utilities, and I've seen and heard the challenges, but I also think that it's time to really start, getting past those challenges. And sometimes the main challenges that I see is the HOAs, the landscaping associations, and I think we all need to be strong and unite, have a big front, and really come up with a solution to face this challenge as a community. And this would potentially avoid 200 million in infrastructure costs. Again, I think this is a kind of a conservative approach, and actually also that will help protect the environment as well. So we're not even talking about the benefits about saving water. So the report is available too at the TexasLivingWater.org, and I think I'm just going to move on to the next page, and I'm going to be talking about this outreach approach. So this is a campaign that started in Central Texas through the Living Waters project as well, and when was it? 2 years ago, right? Well, it was 2 years ago that they brought these signs here to the region, and they said, okay, here are the signs, what can you do with them, right? So we all work collaboratively, and it was a great moment and enlightening for all of us, because we were trying to work with these signs and kind of inserting them in a campaign, right? So initially we were handing these signs at events and things like that, and we thought that was not quite effective. So through the Woodlands Township and the WJPA, we created a campaign which was called the Waterwise Village Challenge, and essentially 8 villages of the Woodlands, they engaged in a friendly competition, and they pledged to conserve water. They had different options. They could go online, or they could go in person, and we actually incentivized the different villages associations. So we talked to them, and they themselves incentivized their own residents. So as you may know already, the township, the Woodlands Township, has 8 villages. So this was a great, very successful campaign that the cost was minimum. I would say just the salary and supplies, because all of the rest was creative thinking. It was, okay, let's write a press release, let's write a series of articles here and there. And the only extra thing that we did was, of course, writing the guidance for the villages and what else, and develop the survey, the online. It was kind of a pledge, but it was some sort of a survey as well. So that was the campaign, and this was a winter water conservation campaign, which at the time it was September, and again we had the signs, and we had to come up with a solution. And we said, okay, but it's winter, and how are we going to do it? I mean, can we conserve during winter? And we decided to go with the campaign premise was, okay, St. Augustine grass goes dormant during winter, and we don't need to be watering. So, and I know some people assume that yes, we or not based on an assumption, but not everybody knows that grass grows so many at the time, but I cannot allow my grass to go yellow. So, we 666 households in the woodland pledged to conserve water, but we reach out to 40,000. So the impact was significant, and this more or less amounts to approximately 12 million gallons in water cities per year.
How did you determine how much water to save?
Well, that's a good question. It was based on the winter months of the price of water per gallon, yes, and based on the winter months. And we did work also on the assumption that those people that were watering every day during winter. So it's a little bit erring on the high end, not on the conservative end. But so yes, we calculated the pledges households, their average consumption, and we do also have more or less some calculations of how much soil is wasted outside, which in the woodlands is approximately 60 up to 80%. So yes, I mean, I have given this talk, and I have put more conservative numbers too, between 6-8 million, but up to 12 million. So anyhow, that's a great question. Thank you. Yeah.
The program that you started over there, and they're still continuing.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sign up this year.
Yes, and that's a great point, and I was thank you for reminding me, because this now is a series of and Waters Project. We would like to see this happening at regional level. So wherever is applicable, correct? I mean, I know that some organizations, they cannot hand out signs, etc. But whatever is applicable, we would like to see this, and we would like to adjust it and adapt it to the needs of that organization. So this is not limited to a winter water conservation campaign, but by any means, we do have signs available, and we would like to repeat this campaign through other organizations. So again, this was a very successful, and we connected this campaign with WaterFest too. So this started on December 2014. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
When you started the program,
yes.
What did you have up front that what were your goals? What did success look like when you started this campaign? How are you going to know that you were successful?
Oh, yes. Okay. So basically, when at the township, when we start a campaign that is completely new, we have a goal of 1% of reach, at least. So it seems very, very low, but it's actually that our target it was at the time. So and this exceeded that. It was at least a 1.6% of reach. So yes, it's again, it's one of those things that for us it was successful, because also it was in the news, and we got a lot of repercussion from the newspapers. So it was not. We also have a lot of comments about it, and we have residents calling constantly about it and debating it. Which is, for example, we started it in December. We launched it on I think it was in November 15th with one event called 3-Year Bazaar, and the ending period was April 15th. And we decided that based on some soil analysis and master naturalist analysis, and it was a little bit of an arbitrary date, I must confess, and we were a little bit panicking on the other side, like we hope that we can make it to the date, or rain, we have some rain, etc. But we made it, and we had a lot of debate about it, and that date is still there. It hasn't changed. So I made some suggestions at the time, like, okay, we might have to move the date, to March the 30th, etc. But we have the rains. And the other good thing is that the grass, and Bob knows a lot about this, is that the grass can really resist a lot of time, up to a month, right? That could, especially around that time in March. I don't know, Bob, if you would like to comment a little bit on that.
I just want to say about the soil, if you get 2 or 3 on a street, then people are gonna notice it. It's a
Pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Peer
a
pressure.
reassuring thing, and the people, it's pressure from the neighbors. You know, I have one in my yard, and my neighbors look at it, and they go, well, maybe I should order us too. You know, it's like putting billboards all over the town, all over the township, so I think that's real.
Yes.
That's one of the real things.
Yeah, and we got, again, we got a lot of repercussion from the newspapers, which was a great thing. Oh, the township is conserving water, etc., and it was everywhere, and lots of people got interviewed because of these efforts, and so that's how I measure success, because you start with something little that creates debate, conversation. That's what you want. You are going to get people that are not going to be happy. And I think we shouldn't be intimidated by that. We should actually face all those fears. And all of this is facing our fears, really, right? Water conservation is not the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. And I found it that these small projects that seem small at the beginning, right? They can really be big at the end. So we shouldn't undermine these what, we perceive as small initially. So, and then again, I should be done shortly here. Let's see.
I can.
Give up on me.
Thank you for holding.
Yes.
I'll just see my back.
Yeah.
Can you just go?
Oh,
And then
yeah, I have 2 more slides. So, but anyhow, so we do a lot of things with the Texas Living Waters. We have a lot of projects coming up, some of which I cannot share right now because they're not, at the launching time. But yes, at least I wanted to remind you of these potential opportunities, particularly on the regulatory side, which is, I think, very valid, and we can potentially save so much just from proactive water conservation. And actually, Bob, you did it through the Woodland Joint Powers Agency, right? And could you let us know a little bit about that process? I know it was a little bit difficult. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was looking at this.
Yes.
Oh, what?
That the little bit of the challenges that you face with the different months, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Some of you may have done that, but I'll be happy to talk about that.
Right. So yes, so Bob went through that, and so that's what I was trying to emphasize on, that these things are not easy to do at the beginning, but they can be done. So anyhow, so this is also some other events and projects that we have at Galveston Bay Foundation. We have a rain barrel program, and I skipped the slide. I think I skipped it. Yeah, I went too far.
Where could we get those
There we go.
T-shirts?
Yes, and actually they have it at the Water Wisely website, I think it is. So the Rain Barrel program, it's Galveston Bay offers it as a pre-packed program. So basically, if you're interested, you can actually contact Galveston Bay Foundation, and you can find out of what's the eligibility, and there's a price for it, but it's pre-packed, and we use recycled drums from Coca-Cola too. So it's there and it's available. Also, I just wanted to mention the G-Ban campaign is not necessarily related to freshwater inflows, but it's related to some pollution, and I know that perhaps you might be interested to learn about that. And we do have that network, so pretty much we can, residents can report on pollution if they see any pollution in I think it's 5 counties. There are the 5 counties that are nearby Galveston Bay, and if you report pollution, they take all that report to the right agency. So that's a great campaign to mention. And also there are teachers and students workshops through Galveston Bay. I just recently found out about it. So if you contact Galveston Bay, you might be able to contact the school and contact Galveston Bay and make the connection and set up a workshop for a teacher or for a student or for a class. And so there's very little investment in those cases. So there's there's a lot of potential things to do with outreach. And anyhow, on the Texas Living Waters project, again, we do different things. We advocate, we want to support utilities and water providers and large users to achieve their water conservation goals. We want to highlight the achievements. So if you've done something that you really would like to us to highlight for you, we can write blogs. So we really want to push water conservation and put that at the forefront of our management and things at the region. So and we want to also identify what are your needs, what are your problems, what are your challenges that you're facing, and so we can help support them with that, or identifying who can help with those needs, etc. So we also just had recently a SWIFT workshop not long ago, and there's a lot of folks that were interested to learn about that, and SWIFT has also 20% of the funds available for water conservation and reuse, and not so many applications, not so many agencies were applying for that fund that is available. So we had one specific workshop for that, and it was very successful, and we had 2 applications as a result of that workshop. So that is there, that is available. So if you ever want to apply for a water conservation project, and that's available as well. And coming up, so as a product of the Gulf Coast Water Efficiency Network, we have the Gulf Coast Water Conservation Symposium, which will happen in March 9 at the United Way building. And so also you can find information in the Texas Living Waters .org website. And also we have, again, we're a coalition of outreach professionals, and we meet here also monthly. So you're invited to attend. We want to collaborate with all of you. We think that working together in partnership, we can, much better ideas arise, and we can share all these knowledge, and also tap on to piggyback on our efforts as well. So, but anyhow, I'm almost done. So conclusion, water conservation can be achieved through various strategies. Outreach and regulatory tools are key mechanisms through which significant water savings can be achieved. And making water conservation the new fashion may help us avoid environmentally and costly water projects and meet projected future water needs, as well as any future environmental needs. So thank you very much, and that's my contact information. And actually, skip that. Here it is. And I don't know if you have any questions.
I get a clap.
The GBAN, you mentioned that's for observed pollution. Is that hills and spills, or what is that really referred to in terms of pollution?
Any pollution that a resident might see. So, for example, if you're in a river and you see trash,
It's even trash.
it's even trash, yes, and you can actually send pictures, etc. There's the tool allows for that, and so it's sent to the right entity, and they themselves take care of that. So it's all kinds of, the voters might themselves report pollution. So when they're dumping their sewage into the, yes. And we have a campaign also for that as well. Yes, which is pump and don't dump. Yes. So yes, it's a very valuable tool. I wish we would have it also for this area, and I'm sure that if we push for it, we could potentially expand it to Montgomery County. So I've been asking those questions too. Yeah. Any other questions?
Feel my brain is like coming from someone.
I had another one if nobody else is mentioned. Dennis kind of worked towards it. So as a scientist, but with a background in a little bit of outreach, it's a booger to quantify the impact of outreach efforts. Even in terms of behavior change, quantifying that, and what does that even mean, much less the actual consequences of that. What do you think is kind of the holy grail, and actually, what would it look like to be able to quantify the impact of all of these things? What would be necessary to actually say, the WJPA,
I mean, gallons per person per day, I mean, that's breaking it down to the bottom line. And I'm from Paul, I get some person information. We're right at 100 gallons per person per day right now.
That's a great.
And that's down from 220 gallons.
That's a whole service area, I guess, okay.
But I also,
Right.
another tool to quantify these efforts, I mean, I'm not sure quantified, you can get estimates, right? Especially if you do it in the analysis for a specific region and you know how much outdoor water, you know how much percentages for outdoor water or indoor you have. So another method is to survey. So to potentially send surveys to your residents and find out if they know about what you did and if they did anything about that. So kind of to track down that as an assessment, and we've done some of that as well, but with different things. For example, when we had drip irrigation classes at the township, we sent a survey and we said, okay, is this work for you? And do you think you're going to be applying this to your residents? And so we gauge a lot of that through surveys. So it's not the easiest thing, but it can be done, and it's not difficult either. So we use SurveyMonkey. I don't know if you know SurveyMonkey, but it's just a friendly tool, and you don't have to pay, and you just gather some information, and you actually get the stats too at the end. So
The thing that's interesting about surveys to me is sometimes I feel like people are contributing to themselves a lot of monkeys, because it's kind of up to the whims of whoever's going to contribute. Sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes people are intentionally messing with you. That's probably a small percentage. But to me, what was interesting is you projected that the 12 million gallons, and I'm not sure what level of interaction you had with those 666 pledges. Would it be possible to work with a subset of those and actually look at kind of a pre and post what they did? That would take them signing off on a whole lot of stuff.
yeah.
But would it be worth even checking to see if even a pledge, what that can kind of be quantified to?
Awesome.
Yeah, I think and all of that could be, a great tool to analyze, pre-post, right? To have a sense of what has, if we've made an impact, right? Yeah.
I think one of the things is that it's not just one thing. It's a conglomeration of these things and cooperation between agencies and groups that, create the mindset that people have to use. I don't know, the only real measurability is bottom line. I mean, that's the real measurability. I imagine you could do that with those 666 people. I imagine that could be done. Well, I don't know.
Well, okay, on quantifying
Whether that's the choir or not.
in surveys and the Woodlands, there's the resident survey that goes out every 2 years.
Yep.
And, if there was just something added about water conservation or the twice a week, there's a way to get some real data because a lot of people look for that report. I know we did it at the paper because one of the questions, where do you get your news from?
Right.
And that was, something that.
One of the things that would make a huge splash, I think, in the water conservation science side of the whole field is matching up some of the survey results. So here's what I think, and here's my awareness. And then what you're talking about is the actual bottom line. Because I think right now, because we're handicapped, we're just assuming you have awareness, behavior change, people are saying the right answers, and we say this is obviously the solution. But there's a big disconnect in actual quantification of that. So if we can kind of quantify that and understand what that goal is, we'd be big steps.
Yeah, and also there's a big change from somebody that is aware about that water is being conserved in the region or in the area, from making a real behavior change. So that's, you have it's difficult to work under variation of options to there. So, but I think again, bottom line, I think outreach efforts is great to be able to quantify them. And for example, when we didn't do just that, for example, we did also, like the subsidence district, we implemented, I'm talking from where I work at the township, we implemented the kits for students, and that came with a report on, it was quantified savings, and of course these are estimates, right? based on the area, based on the type of family, the number of individuals in the family, etc. So, but I think we should not be stuck in quantification for, from outreach efforts. I think this is great to have them, and it's great to work towards them, but I think we just always should do that without expecting a quantification, because that's what is a constant reminder to your residents that this is happening. And it could be just, to different angles. Like last year, we also started to talk to the hotels as well. And we did that through a campaign from the EPA. And that was something for me that it was very important, because all hotels are kind of the eyes of any, you have newcomers that are going to relocate, and or just people that are meeting the area or learning about the area for different reasons. And so we wanted to make sure that the hotels have signage for water conservation related signage, and that was not an easy task. We struggled, and we are not halfway there, or at the time. So yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree that should happen all the time. This one person on that one.
Exactly.
And at the same time, I'm confident that the Region 8 planning group cannot right now currently quantify conservation, much less the impacts of education. And because it's a bunch of engineers, no offense, because I'm taking an engineer as myself.
I don't think you have to need one engineer.
The tendency is to look at education kind of sideways, because it's not quantified. So there's kind of a disconnect there. So any steps towards kind of a common ground is going to give you a lot bigger seat at the table, because there's a gap waiting to be filled, and I think that there's opportunities if we take them.
Well, talking about gaps, I mean, we're trying right now to quantify multi-family or multi-family residences. It's hard to quantify that, because we don't know. We can just say anything, because we have population estimates, but accurate population information that we get from SGRA, but we can't quantify the multifamily. I mean, you're working in that area. There's so many moving parts to this whole thing.
I just wanted to throw out. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. On a much broader scale, I was thinking about your topic, and then I write those monthly articles. Everyone's offline, and well, the big one was smoking to me, as far as education and trying to quantify. If you want to put a price tag, there are fewer teens smoking than when I was in high school and going through my 20s. I'm pretty sure those numbers are out there. I don't know, but it seems like there's an analogy. You want to look at somebody that poured money, so maybe you don't have the hard data, but you can go, it took a long time, but suddenly that is not something you see as much. On a second note, again, thinking about your subject, thinking about my article, I started taking pictures of my meter, because now that I'm in this role, I had no idea how much water, not just me, but my family was using. And I was telling my wife I wanted to start, how some of y'all are getting a sense of my social media interaction. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start posting these and going, look, I'm not just talking about it, I'm living it. And to me, that kind of seems to be an overlap of outreach with numbers. And if it ever became something that some of the leaders, at least in this community, got behind, for instance, the new township director, Laura, is all over Twitter. If some of those political leaders, push that with us, and then other people, and it's like the opposite of public shaming. It's a kind of pat on the back for, hey, I can do this, and I can get other people. And I actually don't know what the numbers would look like, for the multi, what's a good number for a family to have. But I know with a household, I can go out there and do it. Well, I don't know how people can look at that data if they're in apartments or other kinds of things. So is anybody, your water bill?
We're still struggling with that. We're still trying to identify that. And it's a difficult thing because, there's a lot of moving parts. But the other thing is, what we're doing, what all of us are doing, is so new. It's new, I mean, we're the leading edge of what's going on.
And when you look at that 20%, was the very conservative estimate about irrigation, it's probably closer to 40.
Right.
And you look at how dependent that is on climatic variation. What you come up with is a very difficult task of trying to figure out what that measurable change is, because maybe you saw that reduction in per capita use during a time that it rained a bunch, you didn't want to water grass.
And that's one of the factors, we have to take that.
Absolutely. So where I'm at is that whatever your solution is, whatever campaign you do, it's not a one and done deal. I mean, you're not going to be able to have any academically reproducible data and interpretations and that you stand on unless you have a decade's worth of information. At least.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go into this, you got to be in for the long haul. And one of the things at the district, we've been doing the elementary school education thing since the late 90s. So we've been doing that for a while. And I can tell you that we did a really good study with the U of H. We came up with this 84,000 gallons per student sponsored, and that's based on behavioral changes in the at-home retrofit and all that. That assumed 100% implementation, which we know doesn't happen. And we're in a different time now where some of the homes are going in with these high efficiency and water conserving implements. So how much impact are you getting from those kids? So we're looking at options to broaden our water conservation position so that we can justify that 84,000 gallon credit that we're giving as a regulatory tool to incentivize water conservation. So we're looking at all these things right now. And one of the big struggles that we're having, that's why I asked the question, what does right look like? Where is that time frame? What do we say? If 5 years down the road, we're going to feel like we did a good job if what? And I think it's a struggle. And we're actually looking to the academic world to say, help us. Give us some tools to use, things to shoot for, whether it's a number of survey returns or a number of people that register on our website in a certain zip code, because we're looking at it at a regional level. It's not just a one zip code or one town, it's Harris County, which is a big place. So that's kind of a daunting task. And then you look at it from a public policy perspective, selling that to a board or to other cities for people to get in, you got to kind of have all those pieces in place before you walk in the door. Some of this stuff is a little bit on at the moment, just because this is all a new thing. But I think, from our perspective, the outdoor irrigation is low-hanging fruit. I agree. It's easy and we can isolate it. And over time, we can take care of the climatic variation and maybe actually see some measurable gains. But that's the biggest challenge, is trying to figure out what right looks like.
I agree with you. Yeah. I know we enforce the 2-day-a-week watering schedule. We give out notifications, but we, for instance, I would love to have a follow-up, a way of following that through to see, let's look at back a year of that person who got that notification or got that fine. How did that improve their water consumption, especially out there? There's no tools for that. I don't know how to do that.
Is it possible to go look at some of the areas in the nation that are implementing the smart meters?
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like it's just starting, but
We're looking at that now.
and just going, hey, look, because that SWIFT workshop, the Fort Worth.
The West Water Authority is a bunch of smart meters here.
AMIs.
I think they are too, right?
I don't know if the city has, they probably have, they're all that way, but the, I don't know if the West Authority is pretty well, for their wells, actually not the wells. I don't know what they're doing on the homeowner side.
I'm calling mine the smartphone meter.
Well, I would be interested, you had 666 people to sign up to pledge to conserve water. What was that overall number that it could have been in the community?
Really interesting number.
40,000 households.
40,000.
But that's, that's also taking into account just apartment complexes, that do not have access to our irrigation. So the 40,000 households were reached to that, but a total of,
102,000.
If nothing else, I think it was a positive community awareness program. You know, whether they really participated in earnest or they just had a sign in their yard.
yeah,
It was community awareness, and it might make their neighbors say, why do you have the sign, as you
Yes.
said.
yes,
And at some point, you might be able to go to whoever the water provider is and say, let me look at the historical data and take 10 houses or 20 houses and compare this year or 2014, 2015 to 2013, 2014 as some kind of test.
right, yes, that's a very
And
good
that would
point, actually.
quantify.
Yeah.
You know, but again, you gotta take into consideration the fact that it was more.
That's true. That's a very good point right there, and I think, perhaps, well, I don't know, that could be done for the following years, to start working with those actually households that get to pledge,
Mhm.
and, if we actually see, complete savings.
Mhm.
in
So maybe
the
it's
water
an
usage.
incentive for them to participate.
Right, right,
In your survey.
yes.
Registry, tracking applications.
Now, I do want to say one clarification that you say, what does actually look like success? And I think we have these things that we have to perform and perform well and right, and we have to quantify, constantly quantify. But I would like to remind you all that, success is trying. Success is being out there and not being afraid of what the consequences are going to be. That's success. To just do it. No, to do the Nike, just the Nike combination and the water. Yeah, but I mean, think big, and don't be afraid. And I know you've heard this 1,000 times, and this is the classic phrase, but I think that's for us what it was too. And there's 1,000 options there. So tapping on these and tackling these from different angles, that's the beauty of it. It's just not one thing. And then, that creates more variables, and then you cannot identify which one was the one that gave you those, actual behavior changes, right? But then that's what I'll reach it.
And we need more discussions like this.
I'm actually glad we've got a small audience.
Yeah.
We got more of
We
this
need
one than
more
any other
discussions.
one.
Well, and very briefly, there's I like Wired, that magazine. There's an article about, it sounds like, it's brainwashing, but I swear it's not. But it has to do with reinforcing good habits, like without people really having to think hard about it, and it had to do with speed limits. And the article was saying, they've been this one area just busting, enforcing, citing, nothing was getting better. And then they put the speed limit signs up that just had the radar that said your speed. And for whatever reason, not when we're penalized, but just when we're given the information, we tend to want to do the right thing. And I just thought that was a great story. I go, how can you give people the information to go, like what I was talking about, just measuring my own water? I'm having to go look up and do research to find out. I've got me, my wife, I've got a 1.5-year-old. What would a good number look like per day, so that I can go and hit that? And that, I feel like that's the kind of information that could just be out there.
And I think most people want to do the right thing. I really do. And I just think that they don't know what the right thing is. And once we have these efforts out here, educational efforts, to tell people, to show them what the right thing is to do, I think they'll come on board. Most people, you like to do it.
I agree. I think you provide the education out there, and you gather feedback, and maybe you provide some tools for them that help them do the right thing, and then you get some feedback. And I'm optimistic that we can make a measurable change in these areas that don't have the political will to do a mandatory 2-day-a-week water.
They are mandatory. It's the carrot and the stick. Our people out there on the street, we encourage them not to give out the notifications, but to have conversations. Sure. And that has tremendous impact. Just having a conversation out there on the street with somebody walking by.
But there are places where the political will isn't there, and I think you can still accomplish. I think we can still get there.
I I didn't,
And we just gotta have a unified effort and,
Yeah.
provide information and provide tools.
Yes.
Then we'll see how that works.
It's setting example.
Paul, we
I'm
need
gonna
more.
be posting that stuff so that people
I'm
know.
gonna-
I'm living it. I'm living it.
I return my fossil off my front teeth every day.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you, James, what are your measures of success for knowing, when you post something, how do you know if that's making an impact?
So I think a good example would be when I was at Lone Star College,
Uh-huh.
and it was in Tomball. It was an earth science class, and he reached out to us. You know, Paul's the guy that knows everything, but he's been training me up, and I've been learning a lot. So I go out, I present, we have fun. I'm used to being in that setting as a college teacher, teaching freshman English, and I make sure to take a picture. You always see me looking like I'm not paying attention because I'm like posting and doing, you know. But Lone Star College shared that, I want to say seconds after I posted it. So they're a communication person. And I may have 1,000, followers through Lone Star, the district, but Lone Star College is like 10,000. So something like that, that's where I kind of go back to talking about community leaders and people that tend to listen or follow. When you get those people engaged and they don't have a dog in the fight, they are education though, but I didn't ask them to do it. So to me, that's a kind of success that I'm just doing the thing that I'm supposed to do, trying to make it fashionable. Somebody that doesn't need to post something like that goes ahead and they do it,
So
And so I got about 10 times as much traffic on that than anything else I've done.
I asked kind of a loaded question here, because
Sorry.
I figured you'd go there with the virality, but I think there's also implicit, if you read the psychology of social media, it's competitive, even if the competition is against yourself. People will beat themselves up. Oh man, they don't like it enough. There's not enough people that like us, where somebody has X number of widgets that they're measuring, somebody wants to have more. Bob, I'm not sure, even within the villages, how the Woodlands is set up, but there's been a lot of psychologists out there that show when people know what their neighbors are doing, even at a cumulative scale.
Sure.
That has an impact on you or them. So if you say what their average neighborhood water use is,
We do that on our bills.
they do, you kind of compare that, and everybody gets to see.
Yeah, and talking about social media, we started social media about a year ago. I mean, we were really way behind the curve on this. But we saw, our idea was to drive it all to the website where we were posting conservation articles. And we saw like 1,000% increase in traffic to our website, which is what we wanted. We wanted to direct them there so they would read those conservation things. So there's no question that social media works. It works really well.
So the question on the water bills, when you have that, is that just where somebody can compare themselves, their household, to their neighbors, or do you actually let them compare neighborhoods? Do they get to see how each of the units within the city kind of compares? Because then you've got a team that can kind of tackle this together that might have the people with more power.
Yeah, we do a neighborhood area.
Okay.
So we do within a certain geographical area, and we show, here's what your neighbors did, and this is what you did.
So it's kind of one person against.
Right.
I kind of wonder if you could group a lot of areas but let people see how they're kind of.
Because that poses another problem, and that is fines.
Sure.
Because those things cost money, and we're operating on a shoestring. I mean, but it's a great idea. We would love to do it. It's just, it's like AMI. I mean, we'd love to go to AMI tomorrow.
You bring up a good point that sometimes it's the way of this is that this water conservation is a direct opposition to your revenue.
That's right.
And so you have to have down the backside, the well, the mud, or the city, or whoever, to raise their rates to offset conservation, which is a hard.
It's hard.
But then you look at what Lindsay presented the last one, $200 million for stalled, they don't now have to spend. So it's short-term, long-term.
Yeah.
It's a
You're
tough
exactly
conversation.
right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. But it's something that I've had thrown back at me, and when I throw out these kinds of things, is, well, we're not going to take care of our infrastructure, we're going to raise the rates. I'm like, well, yeah, you might have to raise the rates, but, you know,
And we have those rates, but still,
yeah, yeah.
not, probably not enough, because
There are some months out there that haven't raised their rates ever. So they're in place, so. I'm not speaking of Harris County, I'm not speaking of.
right, well, I'm sure we have some here.
There are.
So, you know, maybe I could have done some better.
Oh, no, my goodness, you know what, I don't take the pictures when I'm talking, period, because I'm very gesticulate, like, so I always have to be like this, so that doesn't surprise me, but thank you for
But this is the one that I was talking about, and, you know, when you talk about the competition and lights and whatnot, what I see here is, this was after our presentation, and again, this is like the journalism background, like trying to capture the story. There's, on their faces, there's something going on.
Right.
And then we're talking about water conservation. So if I can get things like this to happen,
Thank God.
It's
you know,
incredible.
I say, come on, everybody, the teachers back here, you know, laughing, smiling, just,
Thank
you know,
God.
and so it's not what somebody might call clickbait of like, I'm gonna trick somebody into, it's actually interesting, engaging. For Lone Star College, it shows, you know, they're a great environment to talk about educational things. And I just think that everybody that is doing the same kind of work is getting that out there, then yeah, it's not so boring. And I don't mean to say anybody here is boring, but there's a level of it, of enthusiasm that can be contagious. Thank you.
That's it, that's the part.
Tell Paul we need more group discussions like this for the
Yeah.
water efficiency. Yeah.
Thank you for being here tonight.
And I can always spend it everyone.
Sorry, I have one meeting.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
I'll see you later. All right, well,
Thank you, Paul.
let's call this the workshop meeting. Paul wasn't here, and I'm like, I guess that was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to flash drive or.
maybe
Okay.
Yeah, I can't believe I got him to smile.
You know, I'm a question that guy. I'll throw all sorts of buckets, but I'll look them all and see what.
See, that's important, because we need that, those questions in before.